walk us through what happened, the fact that they raised less than they hoped for, they sold fewer shares than they hoped for, and yet, you know, Bill Gurley at least has a lot of optimism about this company.
That's right. They ended up selling 8 million shares at $15 a piece. They had initially planned on selling 10 million, with 1 million of those coming from CEO Katrina Lake for a range of $18 to $20 a share. I spoke to the CEO Katrina earlier today, and she said they had a little bit of difficulty explaining the story. She said the story of Stitch Fix is not obvious. It's not easy to tell. She said it seemed like investors throughout the course of the roadshow couldn't quite place them because they're not an e-commerce company and they're not a traditional retailer. She did seem optimistic and said they're looking forward to continuing to prove that they have consistent growth and they have prudent growth. She said they're not about growth at all costs. So, you know, when I break down the valuation, today the stock closed at a market value of about $1.5 billion. That gives it a price to sales value right in line with your typical retailer at 1.5 times 12-month trailing sales. When I look at e-commerce, that's closer to 4.4 times. So it does seem like the investment community looked at Stitch Fix and didn't necessarily give them the premium that they think that those data algorithms that Bill Gurley was talking about adds value to their product.
Now, what I mentioned earlier is incredible about this company, that they only raised $42 million in terms of getting to market. I believe Bill Gurley made the Series B investment in Stitch Fix a few years ago, and they haven't had to raise money again. That said, Katrina Lake told you that investors are asking, is this business scalable? Is this business sustainable? How is she answering those questions?
So investors, she said she was actually surprised. Investors were asking about the scalability of the human stylist. Because remember, Stitch Fix uses the data, but there are also people behind the scenes that help consumers pick their clothing choices. She didn't seem worried about finding more people who can help curate those outfits. And in terms of the profitability aspect, they have turned a profit in the past. And frankly, I was a little bit surprised that the investor community didn't give them more credit for being cash flow positive and being able to fund themselves. So she says she's going to continue growing at a similar clip is what they're expecting. She wouldn't give specific guidance in terms of forward revenue growth, but she does say prudent growth and growing at a pace where they can still have a nice cushy bottom line is the key. And she also said they're looking into the men's category, the plus size category, and those premium offerings are kind of the areas where she expects the most growth, on top of continuing to build out the women's offerings that were kind of the first thing that Stitch Fix rolled out.